Why did Darth Sidious stop using his lightsaber, and when exactly in the lore can we pinpoint he stopped using it altogether? What was the real reason behind abandoning his old weapon? Greetings acolytes and welcome to the archives. The Emperor famously once told Vader that the Sith had grown beyond lightsabers, and that they now only use them to mock their enemy. The legitimacy of this claim has since been debated, but at some point in Palpatine's life, after the rise of the Empire, he just put his lightsaber down altogether, and never would pick it back up again. By the time Luke meets him on the second Death Star, the Emperor makes a point to tell the Jedi that he is defenseless, and that striking him down would be an easy task. In Palpatine's long life, the only time he was ever given a worthy challenge with the lightsaber was against Mace Windu and Grandmaster Yoda, and in both confrontations, his lightsaber was only a means to an end, as he ended up falling back to his powers on the dark side and his gifts in the Force instead. But there was a third battle, one which would test the very limits of Sidious's abilities with the lightsaber, his fight with Galen Marek. And it was because of this very battle that Darth Sidious in Legends would never again duel with his own lightsaber. So join us as we open another holocron and discover why Starkiller forced Sidious to retire his own weapon. Prior to the fight with Starkiller, Sidious had rarely used his lightsaber as it was. He truly lived by the rule that he had given Lord Vader: only use a lightsaber when it was thought to mock his opponent. This was presented beautifully on the world of Mandalore, when he embarrassed his Sith rivals Savage and Maul, proving to them that they would never possibly defeat him, even if he was going to play on their level with the blade. The next time Darth Sidious brandished his weapon was against the saber wielder in a fight against the Jedi Masters in his office. In this instance, we can assume that he not only wanted to savor these kills, but Sidious wanted to show the Masters before they died just how outmatched they really were. When it came to Windu, however, it was likely that Sidious was purposefully drawing it out in order to give Anakin time to arrive and to make his decision. But against Yoda, we know that Sidious utilizing his lightsaber was purely for pleasure's sake, except that Yoda actually bested him in that duel, forcing Palpatine to put his lightsaber away and to fall back on his Force abilities, this coming from the novelization. So technically, lightsaber to lightsaber, Yoda was the superior. For a marked number of years following this would be the last time that Darth Sidious ever fought with a lightsaber, and for a very understandable reason. He was the Emperor now, very unlikely to ever see a Jedi again, and even less likely to have to fight one himself. He had Vader to take care of all of this dirty work, as it had become an obsession for him. Vader actually enjoyed killing Jedi with their own weapon, but Sidious did not. His power in the Force was so great that if anyone were to foolishly step up to him, he could dispatch them without so much as an effort. All of this would be under the rare circumstances that a Force wielder could even close the distance between him. Sidious would brandish his weapon in 2 more instances during his reign as Emperor, both being extremely rare cases. The first time would be when he and Vader were stranded on the world of Ryloth and had to defend themselves from rebel fighters and against giant arachnids. The second time would be a complicated plot when an Inquisitor by the name of Saw Kiwis would make clones of himself in order to kill the Emperor. The Emperor would here ignite his lightsaber, but we don't actually see him use it, as Vader managed to step in and defend him successfully. But then the day would finally come when Galen Marek was making a problem of himself, one of the most naturally powerful Force wielders in all of Legends lore. Sidious didn't think he was a threat at first though, until he heard of Marek's exploits and felt how powerful he was firsthand, sensing him in the Force. When Sidious captured the rebel senators and baited Starkiller into finding them on the Death Star, he was astonished at Galen Marek's raw potential. To make things even more impressive, Starkiller recently defeated Vader in their duel, indicating to Sidious that it was finally time to get rid of his decrepit apprentice, but to take a new one that had just presented itself in the form of Galen. However, Jedi Master Rom Koda, who sensed Sidious's intentions for the boy through the Force, desperately threw himself at the Emperor, grabbing at Palpatine's lightsaber and ripping it off his belt with the Force, attempting to use it against the Emperor. It's not unreasonable to theorize why Sidious had his lightsaber on him in the first place. Here, he knew exactly how strong Starkiller had become, and likely wanted to test him. Or perhaps he would use the lightsaber in a different way, to kill the senators and goad Galen towards the dark side. But once the Jedi Master had tried to use the weapon against him, Palpatine electrocuted the Jedi for his insolence. Witnessing this, Starkiller's attention was reverted away from getting revenge on Vader, and he engaged directly with the Emperor, desperately attempting to save his friend. During this battle, both Sidious and Starkiller would use their lightsabers as well as their force abilities to battle one another on even ground. Each one had considerable strength in the force, and used their powers liberally, in an awe-inspiring moment for the Watchers, and a terrifying moment for the Emperor himself. The two were seemingly evenly matched. While Galen Marek was no master of the 7 forms of lightsaber combat, he had been trained by Darth Vader in extremely practical methods, the methods directly of killing other force wielders. In a strange way, Galen, lacking concrete knowledge on the 7 forms, served here to his advantage. He lacked subtext, but he did not lack in brutality. Unlike Vader, Galen Marek was uninhibited by a suit. He was able to make full use of his young and his agile body. He also had a lot of experience by this point in dueling Jedi Council members at various difficult stages, even having defeated the simulacrum of Darth Sidious in the Jedi Temple. Not only this, but Galen had only ever learned to use the Force on maximum output, allowing him to draw upon the full strength of his abilities at will. Darth Sidious found himself having to pull out all of his tricks in order to fight Starkiller. He had to conjure 4 storms, which allowed him to basically fly in the air, hurling electrically charged objects at the young boy. He was even having to employ Force Lightning shields, giving himself time to recover. Despite being unimaginably powerful, Sidious was getting old. His body was breaking down at this point, and he was beginning to develop clone bodies to transfer his consciousness into. But he was having to push his elderly bones to their very limit in this battle, as he employed the use of Force speed for the first time since his battles with the Jedi nearly 2 decades earlier. He was able to just barely outpace Galen due to his experience, but in the end, Sidious was nearly defeated. Sidious attempted to get Galen to strike him down in order to bring him fully to the dark side, because once that occurred, he knew that the young apprentice would be more malleable and able to be controlled. But Ram Koda stepped in yet again and made sure that Galen did not give in to temptation. Now uncontrollably enraged, Sidious declared that if he could not have someone as powerful as Marek, then the Jedi certainly did not deserve to either. Palpatine used his power with full fury, shredding down Koda with Force Lightning before turning this attack onto Starkiller. Galen was able to hold back the lightning for a time while his friends escaped, but this was a contest that could not be won. Even with all of the strength of Starkiller, their clash resulted in an explosion, and Starkiller was vanquished. After being legitimately defeated by Starkiller though, and encountering someone who he would later say had the potential to be his equal, Sidious realized how close to death he had truly glanced. What isn't widely understood or talked about is just how potent Sidious's Force Lightning actually is. He was not only naturally gifted with the power, but he also spent much of his training perfecting it. Sidious had refined this one technique to a level not seen by almost any Sith prior. It was even said that Sidious could conjure red lightning, a power that a Sith must be born with and they cannot learn. And in the novelization for the first Force Unleashed, Starkiller describes what it is like to be at the receiving end of Palpatine's Force Lightning. He would go on to say that in comparison of years of torture under Vader, nothing that Vader ever did was as excruciating as the pain he felt from the lightning. Before succumbing to oblivion, Galen Marek compared the pain to an imploding star within his chest. What possible need did Sidious have for a lightsaber beyond this point? From the bottom of his heart, he truly believed that there would be no one like Vader or Starkiller in the galaxy ever again. And even if there was someone close to the power of Starkiller, Sidious had proved just how powerful he had become with a single ability, and believed that he was more than capable of killing them. Palpatine being able to defeat Galen Marek in his own mind was one of his most impressive displays in all of his life, and thus, the Emperor definitively put his lightsaber down and would never again claim it for a duel, believing that this fight had legitimized what he had claimed for decades. He had truly grown beyond the use of a lightsaber. Even during the time of the Dark Empire when Palpatine was resurrected, Palpatine didn't actually duel Luke with his own lightsaber, but instead, a lightsaber that belonged to a dead Jedi. Now, we keep specifying that he never used the lightsaber again in a duel, not that Palpatine never used the lightsaber again at all. As far as we know, there is only one other time that he would ignite his lightsaber before ceasing to carry it altogether. In 0 BBY, while Vader was busy, Sidious would pay a personal visit to the Bothan race. Many of their spies had given information about the Death Star to a traitorous Imperial Moff who Vader was actively dealing with. Together with his royal guards, Palpatine would brandish his lightsaber and would massacre a massive number of the Bothan people, taking revenge. He killed every last witness so that no one would see him use this lightsaber ever again. But he did this to make it as quick and efficient as possible. Sidious was enraged. He wanted to kill them by his own hand and get revenge on them for betraying the Empire. He wanted to execute them intimately and personally. Following this, Palpatine's lightsaber was secured in an unknown location. He didn't dispose of it or throw it away per se, but he definitely hid it away somewhere, reminiscent of his time as the Chancellor, where he would hide it within statues or unexpected locations around his office. All we know is that Palpatine did not have his lightsaber at the time of the second Death Star's destruction, and at least one of the lightsabers survived 130 years after his legacy. Palpatine's lightsaber was considered to be the holy grail object of the one Sith. Many who sought after it fought fiendishly to possess it and wield it, believing it would legitimize their claim to the throne of the Sith. But my friends, this is why Starkiller made Palpatine stop using his lightsaber, and in a sense, how he retired his lightsaber. But tell us, what are your thoughts on the last time that Palpatine dueled with his lightsaber in Legends continuity, and the ultimate fate and decision to put the weapon down forever? As always, my friends, thank you guys so much for watching and supporting the channel, and as always, may the Force be with you.